Hello, everybody. Welcome to the March 2020 edition of What's in My Book Bag. Ever since I saw Bill Gates walk around with this giant tote full of books, I was inspired to carry more of my books with me wherever I go, and this month has been especially interesting because of the change in how business functions and what we're all doing on a daily basis. I still have a book bag, although it's actually massively full of books that we'll go through today. And depending on where you're watching, I'm either recording this for YouTube as well as for my IGTV, so you can check it out in vertical or horizontal, whatever you prefer. But I'll probably mostly look at the camera for the YouTube channel, if you're wondering why I'm not looking exactly at the camera over there on Instagram. But yeah, let's just get into it. I'm going to try to go through this in just one take without having to edit anything else out. So let's just look at what's in my camera bag, my book bag, all of that stuff, and go through it. And just so that it doesn't shut down on me, I'm going to go through the books that I'm reading on Scribd, as well as on Kindle and Apple iBooks, things like that first. Just kind of quickly run through those ones, and then go through all the hard copies of books that I've got in my bag as well. So first up is the audio version of Bound List, which we'll get into more because for my birthday I received the hardcover, so we'll talk about that in a bit. I'm also on Scribd going through a copy of High Output Management by Andrew Grove, and it might not be the best time to necessarily look at high output management, but at this point in time we should still be looking towards what's going on in the next 3 or 4 quarters of our businesses, and not just reacting to this very strange situation we're at right now in the ends of quarter 1, start of quarter 2 of 2020. So High Output Management, I've heard, is an amazing management principles book, and so I'm checking that out, and so far it's been really good. Also in Kindle right now, I am primarily reading Unshakable by Tony Robbins. I think this is a very important book at this point in time because of the situation we've got with the stock market, and it's not a time to be overly fearful in selling. Warren Buffett's kind of credited with saying that people should be buying when everybody else is selling, and fearful or selling when everybody else is buying or looking up in terms of the stock market. So it's actually a really good time to keep some cash on hand to capitalize and boost up your future and your finances in the long-term future, because even though we can't say with 100% certainty that the stock market is going to ever go back up, historical trends have shown that it always has, and so we do have to look at it, or we should look at it that way, and not just get overly fearful and sell everything, which just leads to this continued downturn and downplay in the stock market. And then I also just started reading Factfulness by Hans Rosling. That's one of the books that Bill Gates actually says is a must-read by every human being. And so far, the first chapter has really been eye-opening. I think it's going to be helpful, hopefully, reading through it as far as what's going on right now in the terms of COVID-19 and everything that's going on. Everybody's very fearful, thinking that the world's coming to an end. Prior to this, everything was actually way more optimistic than a lot of people interpreted it to be, and that's what this book's all about. So I've been enjoying it. It's very well written, and looking forward to reading it more. In my Apple iBooks library, there's a couple of books that I kind of come back to all the time, and the one is The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. So I typically read this every single day. It's a daily reader format of Stoic philosophy, and it's excellent. Also, I've been rereading The Obstacle is the Way, just kind of slowly picking at one chapter at a time. And then Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, another Stoic philosophy book that I've been reading through kind of slowly, picking through a couple of sections at a time over the last couple of months. So I think that's pretty much it as far as books that are on my iPad right now. So now let's go through the actual books that I've piled into my book bag in the last couple of weeks. First up is this massive book, Bound List by Ben Greenfield. And this was probably my most prized birthday gift from this year, because I don't know if I would have bought it. Well, actually, I was thinking of buying it myself or having the business expense it, because it is such an amazing reference tool for anything to do with human performance and optimization. I definitely recommend looking into this book, or at least listening to it. You can actually get it for free on Scribd if you sign up for their weekly or their monthly program, which Scribd is kind of like an online library, which is also very useful at this point in time, considering that most libraries, public libraries, are probably closed. So there's actually, I'll include a link so that you can go and check out Scribd if you would like. But this is something that we'll talk about more through the podcast, because we're kind of sharing a lot of what we've been learning more about how to have boundless energy, optimize your health and performance through this book by Ben Greenfield. I've also got The Art of Learning by Josh Waitzkin. This is a book that I read originally quite a while ago, and I listened to a recent podcast on Tim Ferriss with Josh Waitzkin. He was one of the original guests on Tim Ferriss's show, and Josh is a close friend of Tim's, and something that I wanted to get back into, kind of going through this book again, or at least different sections, was when he was talking about building triggers for your optimal state of performance or consciousness. And so there's an interesting chapter on how you can go about creating a routine in order to build a trigger for performance. So that's probably a whole other topic for another day as far as peak performance goes. But The Art of Learning is a very cool book and sort of memoir of some of the things that Josh has been through as far as being a chess master, I believe world champion chess master, also a world champion at Tai Chi push hands, and a whole bunch of other things that he's applied to his life, which is super cool, going from one area to the next. We often see people master just one area and not make it as great in other fields, but Josh Waitzkin's definitely created kind of a formula or a passion in his life for applying learning to different fields. I'm also going through some of the 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing, just because it's an interesting time for marketing. There's a couple of books in here. Also, Seth Godin's This is Marketing is another one, because even though the landscape of how marketing works has changed in a lot of ways, especially if you're looking at it from like the sales and advertising point of view, the real concept and the basic components of what marketing is or should be hasn't really changed with all of this. And so we've got to be very conscious and conscientious with how we are marketing ourselves and our businesses through this time and through people's hardships, because not everybody's got the funds to put towards maybe what you normally would sell. And so looking at it as marketing in terms of what you're actually giving to people is really important right now. I also threw Peter Drucker's Innovation and Entrepreneurship in my book bag, just because I think there's lots of good information in here, and just kind of thinking about how this landscape plays out with entrepreneurship, innovation is really important. I threw in a book that I haven't yet finished yet, which is Good Business by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. And it's kind of the flow of business. So that's an interesting one that I've been reading through for the last couple of months. And I think it's kind of important to look at and consider in this trying time as well. I just started reading Duct Tape Marketing by John Jantsch. That's another daily reader, is his Self-Reliant Entrepreneur that I've been reading through this year. And so Duct Tape Marketing is an interesting book. A lot of the sort of basic small business marketing information, but it's always good to go back to the basics and review when you're trying to think of how you're going to shift gears in your business, especially in times like these. I also have my copy of the Complete Canadian Small Business Guide, just because there's a lot of good information in there in terms of, cash flow and finances and different things like that. And so I just wanted to look through a different couple of sections in this book. And then the final book is Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek, which is quite a handy guide, I would think, at this point in time, especially in terms of the way he approaches kind of setting up those quote unquote set it and forget it online businesses. And so I think going through some of the concepts in the 4-Hour Workweek is also very useful. If you've never read it, it's one of the ones that's been very formative in my desire to start my own business, and just seeing sort of Tim's advice play out for a lot of other people. It's a really good one to go through. And that's it as far as books go. I do have, I packed in a couple of my external hard drives just because working from home a lot more, trying to transfer all of the data from videos like this off of my computer so that it's not filling up all of the space is kind of needed. Also, if I need to pull any information from old videos and things like that. And yeah, that's it. I've got one of my planners, agendas in there, and a small mini tripod, which is used whenever connecting like my phone or whatever for little video clips. But yeah, those are the books. I'll leave links to all of them down below. I definitely recommend checking some of them out, especially in the field of kind of thinking about how you're marketing yourself and your business at this time. So all of these books are definitely some of my favorites across many years in terms of marketing and entrepreneurship. So if you feel like going and reading any of them, definitely check them out. Most of them are available through Scribd if you sign up for that, and you can read them at any point, just like an online library. The one downside to Scribd is you never own the books. It's sort of like you're just borrowing them. You do have unlimited borrows, and there's no capacity on how many books can be borrowed at a time or waiting lists or things like that. As far as audiobook versions go in Scribd, there is a limitation of somewhere around 3 books. Seems to be where it kind of like cuts off each month, but that's still 3 books for $12 instead of buying each book on Audible for $15. I still do like Audible as well, because sometimes I do like to own the books outright, but Scribd is a good way to figure out those books and kind of piece together which ones you want to keep versus which ones are just worth reading once. And so I think that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out some of those books, and if you want to see more of what I'm reading in the future, drop a comment or let me know, and I'll keep making these books as I keep reading books. So thanks for watching.